Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering a DexMage She-Ra. This is my first build guide video. I'm going to be doing a couple more build guides. I've gotten a lot of requests on my channel for build guides, sharing what build I'm running, sharing what's good, what's bad, talking about the meta. It's just a very common question in this game. There's a very clear lack of good content out there around builds. I know that there is some build guides out there. They might be dated. They might not come from the same perspective of what you're looking for. They might not explain things very well. So a little bit about my background as a player. I've got about 3,000 hours in this game now since launch, right? This is relevant experience that is recent. I've played every single build in the game. I've theory crafted weird builds. I've tested mounted mage, mounted combat, Thursar. Like I've done every single thing in this game. I know this game like the back of my hand, and what I'm going to put forth to you in this video and future build videos is I'm going to be talking about my opinion. A lot of people have different opinions than me. I think mounted mages suck, right? A lot of people don't think that. They just got a buff, right? I admittedly haven't tested it yet. They might be better now. But I'm going to be putting forth opinions, not facts. You can argue with me in the comments if you want. I'm sure that's going to happen. Arguing in this game. Playing Mortal is just a big part of playing Mortal is arguing about what would make the game better, right? But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be talking about my personal opinions on what makes a DexMage Shiva really good. I'm going to be talking about attributes, what your build should look like in the character creation screen. I'm going to be talking about action skills and professions, recommended professions, and then I'm going to go over a tier list that you could skip to the end if you really don't want to listen to me talk, but I'm going to be giving logical reasons on why I think this build is what it is, right? The video might get a little bit long. Realize you only have to watch the first couple minutes to get the gist of it, and then you can skip to the end if you don't want an in-depth review of what this character is capable of. So, starting with age 31, that's just a standard across all dex-based characters because the clade that reduces your penalties from being old as an Alvaran. 31 gets you a lot of benefits. This is a min height build. It's lean. This build can only be caught on foot by a fit or faster Vila, or occasionally a stout Vila if they get really lucky and you fuck up, right? So it's got 28 strength to be able to use Cuprum daggers effectively because Cuprum dagger is really good. It's cheap. The high dex gives you a good spot, weak spot chance. Sorry, this is all just raw off the cuff, so I'm going to be stuttering a little bit. So it uses daggers. It's got a decent amount of health. It's got pretty good intelligence, and it's got pretty good psych resistance, right? Pretty standard DexMage build. This is a DexMage specific build. This is not a Tamer build, right? I'll be covering Mage Tamer in the future. This build does have room for pets though, right? And that's what I'll get to that eventually, and that's ritualism. That is the toughest grind in the game right now. If you're a new player, it's not forgiving. It's not an easy thing to pick up and learn. You got to learn the secrets of necromancy. Is it a cool thing? Yeah, it's fucking cool. It's really fucking cool. But right now, this is just a Dex Mage. This is what you would bring to a team fight. This is the fast dude in the back line that can pump heals and occasionally pump decent damage, right? Anatomy is great right now. Anatomy, being able to run and bandage, it leans into your playstyle. As an Avaran, you dictate the pace of combat. So going in and out, being able to bandage while running away, get that tick for like 40 health is super valuable. Animism is not in the game right now. That is a placeholder for Necromancy. You want Necromancy at 100 for certain skills. Armor training 29, that gets you the ability to wear Hornscale and Silk Ranger set, right? Hornscale and Silk Ranger set is my go-to roll around set. You roll around with that on, you have about 70% mana regeneration. Blocking is really good. I flip-flop between that and defensive stance depending on how I want to play. If you're running a shield, you might want to use defensive stance more than blocking. Just get those equipment hits in. But since I know how to parry, since I know how to play, I enjoy blocking, right? Combat maneuvering is just essential. Creature control at 17 allows you to control a max level horse, assuming your horse lore is at 100. Daggers, it is essential, right? There's a lot of new players that will argue with me about not needing a melee skill. And I played like that for months. I played on Apex, I've had him with no melee weapon for months. And I thought I was the smartest dude ever. I got these extra primaries and I just use my bow if I run out of magic, right? That doesn't work. It works in the short term. You might think that it's good, but the second I picked up a dagger, I realized, oh my god, I've been playing the game wrong. It is excellent for PvP. It is excellent for PvE. It allows you to peel for yourself. It does crazy damage. A lot of people don't know that daggers scale better than any weapon in the game. So even with low strength and low weapon percent base damage, you can still hit like a motherfucking truck with a dagger. You have with a high dex like you have here, 123 with a Rhizar dagger and placoid scales on the grip, you can still crit for like around 26% of your attacks. And if you weak spot somebody, you can weak spot an Ogmir in full steel and hit them for full damage, and you can see the panic in their eyes when you hit them. It's really fun, and it's a little bit too addictive. A lot of mages go through a phase where they just feel like they need to stab everything all the time, and that is a bad thing. So just be careful. Daggers are really powerful. They feel really good. Don't get sucked into stabbing when you shouldn't be stabbing, right? Defensive stance, like I said, I flip-flop that with blocking. Ecumenical at 62 gives you access to Foam, Reflect, T-Lash, all the important spells in Ecumenical. Anything above that is garbage. Meditation is something that you can throw away the first time you want to try something else, right? Meditation is great, especially with Necromancy for managing zombies and stuff like that. Even though I think zombies are trash, they're generally just too clunky. They are fun. They have that cool aspect associated with them. Meditation is good for that. I would dump this if you wanted to try something like Mounted Magery. 50 points in Controlled Riding, 50 points in Mounted Magery. You can dump Meditation and grab that right away. You'll probably get a lot more use out of that in the long run. Mental offense just needed, mental training needed. Spiritism at 90 means make sure that you'll never fail mental projectile, which is one of the best offensive spells in the game. You can also res, which is fantastic. Eventually you can become a full spiritist if you want to. Sprinting at 100 is just needed. Vitalism at 100 is really good. I've played with Vitalism at 80. I've played with it at 60. Unfortunately, the way this game works is sometimes you just can't get value from your kit. As a mage, sometimes you just can't make space to get offensive spells out. You're not going to run out of mana if you're doing healing in a PvP encounter, right? The only time you run out of mana while healing is when you're like trying to solo a troll, right? So you run out of mana when you use offensive spells, which I think is a huge reason mages suffer right now, is you can't really go offensive without ooming yourself in about 4 spells. So Vitalism, if you're a very offensive player, Vitalism is really good. If you feel like you're falling more into the heal bot role, the more supportive role, you could drop Vitalism down to 80. You could drop it down to 60, and you'll probably be fine in most fights. But the one fight that you get into where you're like, fuck, I wish I had mana, you'll probably just go back into Vitalism. Good news with Vitalism is it levels up super quickly. So if you have even a sliver of unrested mana or of gray bar mana gray bar, it'll level up automatically. You can literally just AFK in town and it'll go all the way to 100, which is nice. Professions, animal materials, animal armor crafting. Biggest thing is armor crafting and soft armor crafting. You want to get a ranger's book as fast as you can. You want to level up textile lore for silk and scale lore for horn scale, right? Because you're a mage, you are very dependent on your armor and your mana regeneration because of that. So do not trust your buddies. Don't rely on a buddy to craft your armor. Every single mage should have armor crafting at least and get soft armor crafting so they can make their own set. You can't just go into a box like your footy buddies and grab any stack of armor in there and fucking throw that shit on. It doesn't work. You need a custom tailored set, and sometimes you kill other mages and you might get your set, which is, it's such a good feeling when you kill a mage that's wearing hornscale and silk or whatever your set is, right? And you just, wow, I can actually wear this. I don't just go vendor it or sell it on the auction house. So being able to make your own set is really, really nice, right? So now I'm going to go over a tier list. This is where the video is going to get a little bit longer. I'm going to be talking more in detail about what they're good at, what they're bad at, their strengths, their weaknesses, right? And I'm going to be talking specifically about DexMage, right? Starting off with PvP. DexMage PvP is S tier. It is hands down essential for a lot of PvP. It makes or breaks fights. You feel it when you don't have a mage on your team, and you feel it when you do. They often turn the tide of battle. The DexMage itself is so fast that most footies can't catch them. An Alvaran footy of a pure Vila Vila can catch you, but it takes them a long time. If you're a good player, right? I was talking about this with a guildie who's also a very good mage, and we were just laughing because we were both saying we can't remember the last time that we were hit by a foot fighter. If you play this right, if you play this build correctly, you should not be getting hit by foot fighters unless shit has gone horribly wrong. And a lot of mages take a long time to realize how to play a mage, but your number one priority is positioning. It should be where you are in the fight in relation to the fight. You should be max ranging your guys, your teammates, and healing, and then punishing people that overextend. If a footy even glances at you with a weird look, you should be making more space for yourself and getting farther away, right? This game is clunky. Going in and out of melee combat into magic is clunky. Switching weapons is clunky, right? You don't want to have to sacrifice that 6 seconds of sheathing your weapon, casting, unsheathing your weapon, sheathing your weapon. You're going back and forth, in and out of that. So playing your position is very important. If you nail that down, that is an S tier PvP build. Super good. 1vx though. 1vx I'm going to go ahead and put in D tier. This build can 1vx. I've got videos on my channel of me killing multiple people. I have no videos on my channel, and I have yet to see videos on other channels of a good pure dex mage without a pet killing multiple people, specifically multiple footies. It just doesn't happen. And the main reason is being offensive sucks your mana dry. One offensive spell costs 20% of your mana. You can do 5 offensive spells. A T-Lash hits for about 60 damage, right, on a footy. A Bandage heals for about 50, and they can cast it while moving. So being able to burn through somebody's entire health bar and then do it again doesn't really happen as a dex mage, right? It has its moments, but oftentimes you have to have ideal situations. You have to be fighting noobs, or whatever the situation. It is very hard, near impossible, to kill 2 footies that are competent with this build. That's just across the board with mages. Even with a pet, it's very difficult. With a pet, it's doable. I have videos on my channel of me killing, 3 guys in steel armor in Fab Dungeon in like a minute with a pet, and then on the flip side, I have a half a dozen times or a dozen times where I've just got cut down before I can even do anything. So it is almost impossible to 1vx with this build. 1v1, I'm going to say it's C tier. 1v1, I'm specifically thinking against footies. Almost nobody duels as mages. It's not really a thing. It's just kind of boring. They just heal each other. You got to be just high. What it really comes down to is pulling out your daggers and fighting each other. It's not really a thing. Fighting against a footy out in the open, you have a decent chance to win if they're bad. They have to pull out their longbow. They have to be accurate with it. You can stam them out. With Necromancy, you have a lot more utility options. You can Death Hand. You can drop a miasma to create space. That's what I do. I use Atrophy really well for this, right? So a lot of people don't understand Atrophy, but Atrophy reduces stamina regeneration by 50% on somebody for a minute. It is super good. That's why you have Necromancy in there. So let's say you're fighting an Ogmere. It would be stupid for you to go in and fight an Ogmere 1v1, right? It would just be a bad play. But if you miasma him in the mid-fight, you hit him with a T-Lash, right? Now you guys are both at like 70%. He starts swinging wildly. You get a couple parries in. All of a sudden, he's stammed out. He didn't even notice, but he's stammed out now. If somebody is completely stammed out, they can no longer parry. You can pull out your dagger and go ham because they can't even swing on you. If they do, it's going to be a super slow, painfully slow animation that you can parry. So sometimes you can do cheeky shit like that, right? So that kind of comes into utility. You can do a lot with utility. I will say that this is an A tier. It's a mage with full points in Ecumenical minus Earthquake and full points in Necromancy. Necromancy itself is very heavy utility. You can miasma and choke people out through their house. You can surge through walls. You can AoE pretty reliably. A lot of people don't know you can just surge yourself, and it like Care Bear stairs like a cone of damage out in front of you. So the utility there is really good. Being able to heal is also really good. Being able to corrupt, all of that stuff is really good. Mages are utility-based characters. They do niche things very well. They come in clutch in weird situations. It feels really good when you do, um, but they lack a lot of other things, right? Offense, I'm going to go ahead and put in, we'll put it in C tier because their offense is okay. You pull out a dagger, you can do some damage, right? T-Lash, if you get multiple mages, that's the thing that everybody likes to tote is mages would be so OP if you could do a bunch of spells unlimited, blah, blah, blah. Think about when you get hit by 3 mages at the same time. You get hit by 3 of anything at the same time, you're going to get slapped really hard. Imagine 3 Ogmirs hitting you in the head with a steel axe. Can you imagine 3 Thurisars hitting you with a giant longbow? It hurts. It slaps. Anything 3 times hurts. But with mages, it's a little bit. It feels a little bit more punishing because it's hit scan. So if you have a group that you're competent with and you're comfortable with, and you guys talk to each other, you can delete somebody off the battlefield with one coordinated strike. So their offense is okay. Being able to pull out a dagger is okay. Um, Necro has bumped that up a little bit. If this was pre-Necro, I'd probably put that in D, but it seems pretty comfortable in C tier for me. Defense. Defense is pretty bad, right? There's a reason that you are fast. The way that I think about this game is Dex is king, especially on a mage. And a lot of people will argue with me, oh, it's less than a 1% difference. It's like a 2% difference. It makes like almost no difference. The way I look at it is it's not a difference of percentages. It's a difference of whether or not you can be caught. If you can be caught, you will be caught. If you can't be caught because you are just faster, then you won't be caught. So speed is king here. Your best defense is your positioning. Your best defense is making space and punishing people that overextend or don't know how to play their characters, which is not the best defense in the world. You can't trade with other melee fighters. You can barely trade with other mages that are good with a dagger. You definitely can't trade with a pet. So, and most pets will run you down, right? A terror bird on you is basically death, right? If you're playing a mage tamer and you have a terror bird and you see an enemy mage, you basically know that you have a kill there, because they have to rely on teammates to save their life at that point. They are not getting away. So their defense is lacking. I would put that in the lacking category. Team fights, they're really good. Team fights, they shine. They're very nice. I'm gonna bump them up to A tier. Team fights, the utility is more useful. It's easier to get AoE damage out in the team fight, right? It's easier to do Cloud of Ashes in the enemy backline. If you flank, drop Cloud of Ashes on their backline, their healers, all of a sudden you're ticking everybody for 1 damage, interrupting a ton of spells. They can't see, they can't heal. You can go back to your backline and heal. There's just a ton of utility there. Utility, it shines in team fights, therefore DexMage shines in team fights, right? For PvE, I'm going to put this in D tier as well. Without the unfortunate reality is, to PvE as a mage, you need a pet, and eventually you can get ritualism. If you get ritualism, this jumps up to an A tier, maybe even an S tier, because ritualism allows you to tank PvE pets, or sorry, PvE mobs with your pets. Just bomb heal your pet. You can go through a lot of different mobs. You can solo Fabrinum Tower. You can solo Rhizars. You can solo pretty much everything if you have a decent pet. But this build currently, as it stands, what you're going to be getting into starting off is horrible. It is very hard for you to even solo 2 bandits. You don't have enough mana to go through 2 full health bars. You have to rely on your dagger. You take extra damage because you don't wear good armor. So it struggles in PvE, right? You can go mounted magery, but even that struggles in PvE. So I'll put that in D tier. Solo, I'm just going to put this in F tier. Without a pet, playing a solo Dex Mage is extremely punishing. It is not a solo-friendly build. You can, and I have, and I will continue to do it because I'm pretty competent in the game, but it is not forgiving for somebody who is playing as a solo, for a lot of the reasons I've already talked about. Wealth generation. Um, Wealth generation is a little bit dependent on your playstyle. What do you enjoy doing? You can't PvE well, so I think that PvE often lines up with wealth generation. You can do other things, right? On my character, I have a scribe, right? I like to do the necro dungeon, scribe scrolls, and stuff like that. I'll charge for healing runs or whatever the situation is. But for raw wealth generation without a pet, it's gonna be tough. You get a pet, all of a sudden that changes. Being able to go into Fab Tower and kill the boss solo with a pet, and then maybe get a lexicon for 250 gold. That's a really good way to generate money, right? Ritualism, eventually you can do that, but as the build stands right now, coming in the gate, you're not going to be able to generate a ton of money, right? Uptime on your character. I'll give that a B. And what do I mean by uptime? Most things in this game that are designated as overpowered are things that are frequently relevant and frequently get use. A lot of people say mounted archer is so overpowered. Two-handed swords is so overpowered. And it does feel that way to an extent because those are frequently utilized to their best capability. This game is a giant game of rock, paper, scissors. It is a very complex game of rock, paper, scissors. Everything in this game is situational, and with few exceptions, there's almost everything in the game is useful. People think that hammers suck because they're terrible in 1v1s. They're slow, they're easy to parry. But in a team fight, a hammer is amazing. And this character is the same thing. You get value from being a mage in almost every fight. If you're solo, you probably won't. If you're solo and you're fighting a mounted archer or a footy, and if they connect with you, it's going to be very hard for you to see value in your build. But in all other situations where you've got a team, you've got a skirmish or whatever, your character is pretty much online the whole time. You're getting value from almost your entire build. Farming, I kind of put that in the category of PvE. I'm not gonna and wealth generation. I'm not gonna talk about it too much. There's not much you can do. It's pretty bad. Fuck. And thinking about it, I'll bump it down to here. Skill cap. Skill cap. I'm gonna put this in C tier, and that's kind of contingent on one thing, right? When I describe skill cap, what I'm talking about is how hard is this to play? Is it easy to play or is it hard to play? If it's hard to play, it gets a worse rating. If it's easy to play, it gets a better rating, right? This is a very hard build to play. Not only do you have to worry about reagents, mana, your position, and just take your licks getting killed by the guy who only has to left click over and over and over again until you get competent and learn how to play the game. It is punishing if you don't have a good guild. If you have a good guild that can explain to you, or even a really good friend who's a good mage who can teach you the basics of how to play a mage, it's great. I would not recommend this build for somebody coming into the game for the first time. This build guide might help you a lot, kind of get caught up with just learning the basics of how to play the build and how to play the character and how to be a mage. But there is so much more nuance to it that I wouldn't recommend a new player just pick this up and this be your first character. This is something that is really good for a vet to re-roll into. Crafting, you're pigeonholed into using armor crafting for your own sets, so you lose a lot of points there because you have to get the zoology stuff and the skills and stuff. Can you make money with armor crafting? Sure. You make decent silk sets. You understand. You learn how to get silk and learn how to get horn scale and make good sets. People buy them, right? The idiots that play a mage that don't have armor crafting will buy them, but by and large, you're not going to make a ton of money crafting. It doesn't do anything special. It's not a human, so it doesn't have any extra clades or anything like that. So it's largely just mediocre. I put it in D tier. Overall, I think this build is A tier. It's definitely not S tier. It's got a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses, like I talked about earlier. This could use a buff, in my opinion. The only thing that I would change right now for mages is I would reduce the mana cost on an offensive spell, and I would not make it use mana if you miss, because this game has latency issues, and it technically functions as hit scan. Don't even get me started on the Necromancy animations not syncing up with the wheel finish. So the game is very punishing from a mana perspective, and being able to play as an offensive mage is extremely hard in this game. It's extremely hard. You very quickly will feel that you have to have a dagger or you have to have a footy with you. Otherwise, your build is offline and you can't really go do a lot of content that you should be able to do as a solo player. And this game is limited to one player per account. There's a reason so many people have multiple accounts, but assuming you're the type of player who only has one character, it is going to be tough. So I would like to see them help out with the mana cost on certain things. But other than that, the character is really good, right? I play this often as my main character. I do have ritualism, right? But uh, this is a very, very good build. And often the big PvP guilds that play and do skirmishes and team fights, you won't see anything but Dex mages from their magic department. It is all just Dex mages. So I hope this was kind of eye-opening. I know it's a little bit long-winded. I'm currently on travel for work. I can't really use my standard computer, my standard setup, so this is recorded on the cuff. I'm going to be doing more build guides because I can't really play right now because my laptop isn't as good as my desktop and I just get my ass kicked in-game. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I'm going to leave the actual build itself in the description so you can just open it up in the Mortal Builder. Other than that, have a great night.